Hey YouTube, I've got my personal car in the shop today. This is a 2004 Mini Cooper S R53 chassis. Anyway, I've had a problem with my rear wiper for quite a while now, and as you know, if you live in a place where the roads are quite dirty, anytime it rains, this back window gets really dirty and you can't see out the back. This rear wiper motor has just been dying a slow death. I think there's something wrong with the basically gearbox inside of it. It's just been getting slower and slower, and it just finally quit. So today we're going to replace this sucker. Unfortunately, the original design, the 2002 to 2004 design, is no longer available from the dealer. So they forced you to retrofit to the 2005-2006 design. Anyway, let's get going on this. So the first step of this job is to remove the wiper arm. You might want to pull on this dust cap here to expose the 13mm nut here. If you live in a crusty climate like I do, you might want to spray some penetrant oil on it. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Cheat here. Alright, luckily for me, it came off. Now the next step here is to actually physically remove the arm, and sometimes it requires a little bit of finesse and perhaps a puller. This sucker is not coming off on me, so I'm gonna have to try to find a puller here, and we'll get back to you. Well, I finagled with it by hand. The puller I had didn't quite fit. It wouldn't fit something this small. So what I did is I turned it right at a right angle, like so, and I sort of just twisted, and it eventually just popped off. All right, so that exposes the end of the wiper shaft and its grommet. So now the next step is to open the boot and remove this panel. There are a few screws here, one there, another right here, there, and right here. They are I believe they're a posi drive, but you can also use a Phillips on them. They're not held in very tight. Okay, I've gotten all of those screws removed. Pretty simple. And now I'll get this panel started. You don't always need a panel trim tool. Just pull gently. Remember, this is old plastic. So just gently persuade it off. Mini tends to use decent plastic, so the risk of breaking it like on a Volvo or a GM product is fairly slim. But just work around until you can get all the clips popped. And I'm doing this with one hand just to illustrate how easy it is. And there we go. So everything's kind of upside down right now, but here's the wiper motor. There's an electrical plug. The hose for the washer, and actually three hold-down screws. So we will remove these. I believe these are a 10mm, but if I'm wrong, I will mention that in the next clip here. So let me go grab some tools. Okay, I've got tools on hand. So what we will do is we will disconnect the electrical plug right here. So there's a release tab right here. Just squeeze it down and then pull this plug out. It should come out like so. Now this wiper washer hose, it should just twist or pull off. Sorry for the poor camera work. I'm by myself today in the shop. Don't have my cameraman. All right, so that hose is off. That plug is off. So now we could concentrate on the three mounting bolts. Just 10mm. All right, so you get the idea. Just remove all three of these. I don't want the wiper motor to drop on my head, so I will turn the camera off while I get this last one out. All right, so I got all three of the mounting bolts off. Now it's just a matter of persuading this guy to come out of its hole. All right, and here we go. We have the old original motor. This one was made in the UK by Trico. Imagine that. All right, one more thing that we need to do before we retrofit the new motor is we need to remove the grommet that comes through this back glass here. It's usually just a matter of pulling it out like so. I will clean around this glass here so that when we put the new one in, it has a fighting chance of sealing. So here is the part number for the replacement 2005-2006 style grommet. 61, 62, 7, 129, 283. You can get this at your local BMW/Mini dealer or various places online. So the difference is that the hole's a little bit tighter in the middle here. The wiper motor has a slightly different diameter, and the outside diameter where it goes into the glass is the same. You could elect to put a little bit of sealant around here. The factory doesn't, so I'm not going to unless I have a problem later. It's my own personal vehicle, so it doesn't really matter as much, I guess. So got it in the hole, good to go. Make sure that the lip has gone all the way around and is on this side of the glass too, so that we can ensure a good seal. Fits really tight, very tightly. All right, so now we will have to grab the replacement motor, and I'll grab it right here. This is an OE part. Here's the part number, 67636932013. This is the OE BMW Mini part. Quick tip, if you want to save some money, unlike what I did, just buy the Vallejo brand wiper motor. They are the OE manufacturer. I mean, that's a BMW box, Vallejo part. The only reason why I went with the BMW part is because it was in stock. I couldn't find a Vallejo anywhere online, and I didn't want to wait. We're in wintertime here in Alaska, and not having a rear wiper sucks. So we'll offer it up basically the same way that we backwards of how we removed the old one. So just push that shaft through the rubber grommet. You can use a little bit of Windex or something to lube that shaft up so it goes through the rubber a little easier. And push that up against the back of the boot lid here and put your 3 bolts back in. I can't juggle this with the camera, so I'll have to put you down and we'll continue on when I'm done. Okay, I've got the new motor mounted up, the bolts tight in the spec. I'll have the torque specs listed in the video description. If you don't want to use a torque spec, just tighten it till it's snug. Be sure that the metal bushing is inside the rubber bushing here, so that when you tighten the bolt down, it has something to tighten up against. If you're missing that little metal bushing in the middle of the rubber bushing here, that bolt will crush the rubber and you'll never get it tightened correctly. So all that's left is to hook the washer hose up and the plug-in. Something you will notice is that the wiring is the connector is slightly different on the new motor than it is on the old. But BMW thought about us and made a harness that is an adapter harness. So that is the part number. One end fits into the wiper motor and the other end plugs into the existing 2002 to 2004 body harness. In the hose here, you just have to route it slightly differently, but it'll reach. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out of the package and get it all situated for you, and we'll get back to you here. Alrighty, so this is what it looks like when you have the adapter harness plugged into the wiper motor, as well as the other end into the existing vehicle body harness, and just the washer hose plugged into its nipple right here. I just want to have everything squared away and just kind of out of the way, and now we can put the panel back on. Make sure all your clips are on the panel here. If they're not, you might want to look at the holes that they go into, and if they are, pull the clip out of the hole and put it back on the panel. That'll help with assembly. So these are mostly held on with the clips, so go ahead and offer it up to the boot lid here and just take your time, make sure everything lines up properly. You got a couple that just go through a hole here. There's no clip, so take your time, make sure everything lines up. And I need both hands to do this, so I'll have to put you down. It's the fun of not trying to juggle things here. So I got the panel more or less lined up. Let's see if we can push the clips in here. There we go. So they're pretty, don't hold all that great, but just there we go. All right, so want to make sure everything is snapped in. All right, everything's snapped in. So now we can put the screws back in. I'm not going to bore you with my screwdriver work. All right, so now we're on the outside of the vehicle. As you can see, we got the new wiper shaft coming out of the rubber grommet here. Everything's nice and tight. The last step is to put the wiper arm on. A little bit of advice: before you put the wiper arm on, it's a good idea to turn the ignition switch on and turn the rear wiper on, and then turn it off and allow the motor to park. That way you know that the wiper shaft is in the parked position. We don't want to end up in a situation where the wiper motor isn't parked. You put the arm on and then you turn the wiper on, then you end up having the wiper hit the body, or just be in the wrong spot. So I've already done that. I've turned the ignition on, turned the rear wiper switch on, allowed the motor to operate, turned the switch off, allowed it to park. And once it parked, I shut the ignition switch off. All right, so now, as part of the retrofit, you need to go to the newer style wiper arm. This is not a factory part. Seems to be a backward on the factory part, so I went ahead and got a Vico replacement, and here's the part number for that. It's not factory, but so as you can see here, the end cap is a little different. The wiper washer jet sticks out here now. So that's how it works on the newer models. The wiper arm fits on just the same way as the old one did. So what we'll do is we'll line it up so that the wiper is, horizontal, and we'll put the nut on and tighten it. I went ahead and bought a new nut because I figured the nut would be rusty. Here's the part number for it. So I'm going to grab the wiper blade and stick it onto the arm. I have a video on how to put the new wiper blades on these arms. So I'll go ahead and do that, get everything started here, and we'll continue on once I've got that done. Okay, so you want to start the nut on here, get it pretty close, and to the point where the wiper blade can still move. So you want to make sure this is more or less horizontal. Use your discretion. From the factory, I think they sat pretty much like that. Pretty much parallel with the defroster grid. So once you get it lined up, take your deep socket 13 millimeter, don't use an impact gun like when I was taking it off, and use one hand to hold the wiper arm while you snug this down. If there's a torque spec for this, I will post it in the video description. Now that we have the wiper arm nut tightened securely and the wiper arm at the angle that we were desiring, which is about like that, the last step is to put the end cap on. As you can see, there's a couple of little nubs right here. and those just sit in here where the wiper pivot is, wiper arm pivot. So this is plastic, it's really flexible. You just flex it over until it snaps into place right there. And then finally you just push the cap on like so. And now we have the wiper arm on. So the last thing that we need to do is to activate the squirters and make sure that the squirter hits the back glass appropriately. If not, there is an adjustment for it. So I guess I should have shown you before I snapped the cap on. But anyway, stick a needle or something into the hole and you can adjust the angle that that sprayer is at. So I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together, turn the ignition switch on, and activate the squirters and see if they're to my liking. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. The squirter hit the back glass just fine, and I think that's good to go. So that's the process for replacing the rear wiper motor on a 2002 to 2004 Mini Cooper R50 and R53. It's the exact same process on the 2005 and 2006 models, with the exception that you don't have to buy all the stuff to retrofit, like that adapter harness or the wiper arm and blade and such. It'll just be the motor, since those cars came with this style of wiper motor and arm. So anyway, if you found this video helpful, click the like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, have a great day. Time for some bonus footage, I suppose. Anyway, I got the screws out of the cap here. Now I'm just going to pull this cap off just to see what happened to this thing. Curious. So, yeah, this is not the first time I've seen this inside of a 02 to 04 Mini Cooper wiper motor. The grease just turns into what looks like mud or dog poop. This explains why the wiper just got slower over time and got to the point where it just got so slow it couldn't even make a complete cycle, and the arm would get stuck and then have to go outside and move it, and then it just stopped altogether. I'm sure that excessive buildup, that's the grease that's normally packed in here, but it's just deteriorated. So yeah, that caused the mechanism to bind up and probably burn the motor out. I'm actually kind of surprised that it didn't blow the fuse. But anyway, just thought I would include this footage just in case you were curious like I was.